So let's go to the last talk for this session, this morning session. With us is Francisca Rosa Gonçalves, which is over there, and she will talk about acoustic ecology, ecoacoustic and listening practices. So go ahead, Francisca.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Are you seeing the screen? Can you see and can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can see the, but if you want to enlarge the slides to put it in presentation view or to see a single slide, maybe.
Yeah?
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Okay. Hi, everyone, and thank you very much for having this opportunity to share my work. I am from Portugal. I am going to talk about some artistic strategies on how to use ecoacoustics and acoustic ecology and listening practices to try to create awareness for the problem of noise pollution. I'm a PhD student in Porto University and a researcher in INESC. I'm a co-founder of this open field creative lab, an artistic lab, and the project Ocean Soundscape Awareness is on the behalf of my PhD, and I will talk about specifically Switch Off and Listen artistic project. So very briefly, I will talk about my background. I have a degree in veterinary medicine and worked with exotic animals, always using stethoscopes to listen to cardiac and breathing sounds. So I developed this passion about noises. And at the same time, I also performed electronic music. So I developed this passion about vibration and the physicality of sound. And this led me to do a master in multimedia and interactive music and sound design. And here I am at the moment doing the PhD. I'm collaborating with the Leibniz Institute in Berlin and trying to make people perceive ocean soundscapes and their human disruption in 4D sound systems. This is the project that I will be doing the next months. So from this, what I'm trying with this artistic project, Ocean Soundscape Awareness, is to make noise pollution more visible and to integrate people with ocean environments to develop an emotional connection. And basically, it's an artistic project, but through awareness, to create awareness through performances and installations. Three main things that I try when I approach is to connect people and soundscapes through deep listening or through attentive listening. I try to provide or foster inclusion with nature by bringing them to nature, and also try to develop a pro-environmental behavior by creating this emotional affinity and let them get more connected and protect nature. So the Switch Off and Listening project was developed in a collaborative form with Lab 852 and the Magic Carpets from Creative Europe. It was in Kvar Island. And we did like a very research phase about local issues about noise pollution, because they have like a very high traffic situation from June to September due to very touristic people coming to the island. So we would like to make this kind of awareness of the problem. So we came up with three outputs, three ideas. One, underwater listening tours, boat tours. Second, educational workshops for kids, for them to start thinking about also the problematic of noise pollution. And then a site-specific performance, collaboration, and an immersive public space using the sounds. So Switch Off and Listen is basically a noise awareness campaign. First, the boat tours. We were taking people for a place that we found that had an interesting sound with some snapping shrimp. There will be some crackling sounds. So we took them on a boat, we put them listening, and we also recorded the sounds all the time that people were doing the sounds, listening to the sounds. We took some gear to the boat. This was the main gear. We took some hydrophones and recorders. Sometimes I also used a passive acoustic monitor and some geophones to record vibrations. but the main boat gear was the one from the previous picture. And then we put the people listening, and we asked them to share what they were listening, what they were feeling, what they think they are listening. And there were very interesting feedbacks from what they wrote. And then we used this in the collaborative performance, as I will explain. This is a very short video. I hope you can listen and see. So you could see that some boat noises from the motorboat were starting to arise, and he was doing this anthropogenic noise on purpose. This was a fishing technique that they used to simulate dolphins, and then the fish will move. And we were deliberately introducing anthropogenic noise, like this fishing technique, but also the motor from our own boat, in order for people to perceive the differences while listening with or without anthropogenic noise. So the name Switch Off and Listen is about switch off the motor and listen to the soundscape. So this was the second, the creative workshops for kids, where we combined SUMINAGASHI with CYMATICS. SUMINAGASHI is a Japanese technique of painting on the surface of water. And then we introduced low frequency vibrations on the water, like the ones from the boats, in order to create turbulence. And this is also a very quick movie. I'll put it maybe here or here. So just for an idea, these are the outputs. And then we also use this on the collaborative performance. Also, we did an underwater listening station for kids with a hydrophone inside. They were listening to the boats coming in and out. They could also listen to themselves doing some sounds on hydrophones in a cup. And then some were listening, some were doing sounds. And then they will share also by drawings what they were listening, and they were participating also in the whole process. The collaborative performance was joining international and local artists, sailors, the children, and also the audience that were participating. Basically, the kids were doing with sailors this shadow play on the sailing boats at night. This was the collaborative performance was at night, so the kids were in the boat. And then there was a messenger from the sea that gathered all the drawings and the sayings from the people of what they hear on the soundscapes in a little message. So they were took home the messages from the sea. And also we used the soundscapes that we recorded on the whole process, on the whole week. And we did an immersive public space installation where people were gathering in this plaza with some lasers, like resembling underwater environment, where we placed people listening to the environmental sounds in this context. So basically, we thought that this was important as a citizenship approach to make people talk about it. And they even invite us to talk on radio to explain the project. And I believe that combining this with scientific approach, where we could also maybe collaborate with the scientists that can use the soundscapes that we record in order to analyze them, I think we could reach very meaningful collaborations and contexts of open the dialogue, raise awareness, and of course, use these field recordings also as a sonic journalism. And then as a starting point for other studies to be done with these sounds. And from the feedback from people, I think we could connect people more to soundscapes, ocean soundscapes, and that they started to become like more concerned and also more aware of the impacts, and that they could eventually share these things and also act toward these things, thinking twice, do I really need to go by boat, or what can I do to get better on this situation? So basically, this project was about this, about creating awareness by using some recordings and putting people on place listening to real-time ocean soundscapes. And I think I could manage on before time. Maybe I even talked too quick. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Francisca. It was a very beautiful project. Congratulations, and thank you for showing us all the work you are doing. We have time for a few questions, so we can start by Anna McGregor, who say, who did you recruit the participants for your study, for the part that when you offered them switch off and listening?
Sorry, could you repeat?
How did you recruit the participant? How did you find the people?
How did you find the people? Good question. Actually, I was before. I stayed for 1 month in the island, so we developed like promotion on the island and also on a Facebook page. We promoted the underwater listening sounds workshops, and people just had to send an email and book a place, and they were all sold out, which was good. And actually, it's interesting because in every group that gathered randomly, it was very interesting because it gathered people that had in common this interest about sounds. So in the end, it was different elements, completely different, but the people were very enthusiastic about it. So it was basically just opening up to the community in the island, or people that were living there, or also tourists. Everyone could join.
And can you tell us about the reactions? How do people react when they listen to those sounds?
They had two types of reactions mainly. They were like very interested about being able to listen to sounds underwater, and very surprised that actually there's so much going on in sound. And then they were even annoyed by when they realized how noisy can be a boat passing kilometers away, because we were in a specific space and nearby the ferry boat route, but a little bit in a bay, but still we could, every time a ferry boat passes, they were like thrilled because it were really interfering. You couldn't hear the snapping shrimp anymore unless the boat passed. So they had this mixed feelings. Some of them were really saying, it's so calming, it's so amazing, I'm really enjoying to listen to the sounds. But as soon as the anthropogenic noise came, they would realize that it's really impacting and interfering.
Klaus Rieder asked that during snorkeling, we can often hear snapping Srin Clarkin. So he tried to find out the species, and he asked if there is an inventory to try to identify the species, and if you are aware of this species being an indicator of water quality.
So I would love to know what was the species there. That's why I think I would need to have some collaboration with some analysis. I mean, we were doing some, by the recordings, we could instantly, by hearing it, identify, but I don't know which are the species. And from what I read, in all that area of high temperatures, they are very common around these areas in Croatia. So we have everything pointing that they are there all the time. But actually, I don't have the scientific output to tell you exactly what is the species. But if anyone there would like to collaborate, I will happily send the recordings and we could see.
Great. Almo, I don't know if you want to ask something. I see your hand.
Yeah, thank you. I think very interesting paper presentation indeed. I recognize that the sound from nature, we are used to distinguish between noise and sound. I think that we have to, it's time for us, for ecoacousticians, to avoid to use the term noise and to use sound, unwanted sound or strong sound or loud sound, etc. I think that also because there are many species that are not soniferous, but they use probably sound as a reference for habitat. So I think that investigation about sounds, not only biophonic sound, but also geophonic sound, is extremely important and could be very useful for better understanding the relationship between every type of animals and the acoustic environment. So this is not a question, but is a general consideration that you are educating people to hearing sound from sea environment is extremely useful because you educate to listen what happened, and what happened not only for due to biophony or for anthropophony, but for natural events. So we have to reconsider natural events that create sound, because without sound, it doesn't exist the world. The world is noisy, excuse me, is noisy, it's not silent. We are not outside the atmosphere. Without atmosphere, maybe, but with the atmosphere, the sound is dominant in every form, and every species more or less has the capacity to sense sound. So it's general consideration to discuss more in this during this congress, because I believe that it's extremely important to focus also on geophonies that is not apart from biophony, because biophony developed thanks to geophony or are interrelated in evolutionary time. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, definitely.
Another question by Genji Lu. Have you thought about sharing these tour and workshop materials to other organizations to also replicate in other parts of the world?
Yes, yes. Actually, after this project in Portugal, in Croatia, I already was approached to do the same in Portugal, and now in this aqua tag that I'm in Berlin, it might also be the possibility that we also do these things with the community there, and I will be happy to do it and to that everyone starts doing it all over. So yeah, definitely.
And did you find any differences between how adults engage with listening compared to the children?
I think definitely. Okay, adults can focus a little more. They can really stand still and focus. Kids are a little bit more, they are very enthusiastic. They are really very interested, and their way of explaining what they are hearing was very, very cute also, because some of them were just saying, this sounds like the ocean, but a little bit different. I think I'm in a football stadium with everyone clapping. They had associations, very funny associations, but they are more difficult to really keep them still and doing like a proper listening. But they were really interested when the boats also passed, like, oh my God, I cannot hear anything. They're really noisy. So I think they were also concerned, but I mean, it's more difficult to keep them in a listening, more listening session, I would say.
Right. Another question by Alice Eldridge. She wondered if the CYMATICS experiments differentiate well between low and high frequency, between noise pollution and biophony signals.
If I found any differences?
If I don't know what it is actually, in CYMATICS experiments.
So what we tested different frequencies. Yes, of course, the low frequencies, lower than 100 hertz, were shaking more the water, so we're creating more interesting patterns than on the drawings. But I mean, we were not introducing the real sounds from the boats. We were doing an artificial noise input of a sine wave, and we were playing with different frequencies in order to see the patterns on the water. But they were different, yes, very different. I don't know if this was the question. Sorry.
I don't know if Alice wants to compliment and.
Hi, Alice.
Hi, I don't seem to be on. Hello. Hi.
Hello. How are you?
Thank you for your lovely presentation. Yeah, really nice to see it's developing. I was just wondering, because it seems like a different way, in the same way as...
Sorry, Alice, I think you have speakers on, maybe because there are a lot of noise coming in. I don't know if...
Oh, sorry.
Turn off the speakers. Yes, thank you. Now, yeah, and now we cannot hear you, but it's because some reason, I don't know. Now try again. Alice is writing. Okay. Well, thank you so much to all the speakers, to all of you for attending this wonderful session. We can leave it here. I don't know how, but we arrived just on time. we met the schedule, so we will stop here and continue after the break